Hey everyone, Justina LeeStolz here with Century 21. Okay, so now we are on to phase 3 of the home buying process. Phase 3 is the offer and negotiation. And here is what you need to know. Your realtor is going to do their absolute best to make sure that you get a win-win situation. They are going to write in terms and conditions into that contract that protect you and also give you guarantees and warranties from the seller about this home that you're about to buy. The offer is critical, and it is the moment we have all been waiting for because this is the binding contract. Only the things that you and the seller agree to and put in writing and both sign off on are what will be held legally viable at the end of the day. Within that contract, there are a few key points that your realtor is going to discuss with you and get your input on because they're your negotiating points. The first is price. You're going to have a lengthy discussion about price with your realtor on what you think is fair, what they think is fair, and ultimately what the market thinks is fair, because realtors don't set prices, the market does. After you talk about price, you're probably going to talk about the deposit amount. Now, there's a difference between a deposit and a down payment. A deposit is an amount of money that goes into a trust account after the subject removals, and that's your due diligence period. And that deposit amount forms part of your down payment. And your down payment is that 5, 10, 15, 20% that you're putting down in order to satisfy the mortgage company to purchase the home. Your deposit is the piece that shows that you have some sweat in the game. After you've done your due diligence and research on a home and you tell the seller, yep, I'm going to buy it, they're going to put the sold sign up, and then you're going to put that little bit of deposit into a trust account. After you talk about price and deposit, you're going to talk about your closing date, the day that money actually transfers hands. You're going to talk about the possession date, the day that keys actually transfer hands. And those dates are usually in sequence. You normally have your closing on one day and then your possession the next day if the property is occupied, or you can have them both on the same day if the property is vacant. Once you've talked about price, deposits, and dates, you're going to talk about your terms and conditions. Now, these are what we call subject tos. A subject to is a condition that requires third-party involvement in order to satisfy some sort of action. For example, we almost always have a subject to inspection, where we hire a third-party professional home inspector to take a look at the property and determine in their objective opinion whether or not there is anything to be concerned about. There are other subject tos that will also be included in your contract. For example, subject to financing, subject to having the title of the property reviewed by a lawyer, and other things like that. And these all have to have a deadline date that they must be completed by. Typically here in BC, or at least in the Okanagan, the subject to period is about 2 weeks. Now, next to your conditions, there are things called terms. Terms are more so acknowledgements within an offer. They don't have a hard deadline. They don't require a third party to be involved. They're just acknowledgements. Like here in BC, we have buyers acknowledge that there is such thing called property transfer tax. It's sometimes called the sunshine tax, but it is something that we want you to acknowledge within the contract. Additionally, we have sellers acknowledge that all of the appliances will be in good working order on the day of possession. So terms are things that don't require a third party or a deadline, but they are acknowledgements accepted by both parties. Once you've talked about price, deposit, dates, your subjects, and terms, all that's left to do is to decide how long you want to leave your offer open until for the other party to respond. And that is totally dependent on the circumstances of your offer. In multiple offers, it might be just a few hours. If you're the only offer on the table, you might give them a day to think about it. It all depends on the circumstance. And that's what you need to know about offers and negotiation.